Welcome, everybody, to the Cruise in Review podcast. I'm Blake.
And I'm Audrey.
That is Norris Frog, our executive producer. We are proud to be the only podcast in the Western Hemisphere with a Build-A-Bear and Frog as an executive producer.
Yes.
Be sure to hit that subscribe button if we haven't run you off already, and all the content, video information from our YouTube channel. You can also listen to us on the go should you not have time to finish this, or maybe you want to listen to some any of our other 13 episodes out there. Anywhere you get your podcast, or go to CruiseNReview.com/podcast. Follow us on social media. Cruise in Review at Cruise, the letter N, Review. You can also follow Little North Frog.
Yeah. He's on Instagram and TikTok. It's at Norris Frog. And follow him and all of his little froggy adventures and what he does.
Yeah. Sometimes he goes a courting. You just never know. Go to our website, CruiseNReview.com. We are also full-service travel agents, so anything you hear or see on our show that you would like to try, we can book it for you. Not just cruises. We can book anything. And today on the show, we are not talking about cruises. We are talking about a great weekend getaway spot for just millions of people in the Midwest every single year, and that is the beautiful town of Branson, Missouri.
Yes, and it's one of my favorite places to go, whether we're going to get to go for a week or a weekend. It's full of so many different things for so many different people. And I mean, for all you cruisers, to me, it's cruise ship on land. So it's so much fun, and I'm so excited to get to talk about it. I think it's in my bio as one of my favorite places to go is Branson, Missouri.
Yes, and so, man, if you like lakes, they've got lakes, tons of great shopping. They have activities. They have mini golf. They have regular golf, great regular golf. They and then, of course, the famous 76 Boulevard, the Branson Strip, as it's called, has tons of great shows of all kinds. Anything that you can think of.
And did we mention the theme park?
Oh, yeah.
Silver Dollar City.
One of the best theme parks in the world, consistently rated. Tons of great roller coasters and rides. A pioneer, old days theme park with great food. They've got great shows. They've got everything that you could ever imagine. And this is a wonderful, wonderful town. And so it's just a great weekend getaway located in the Ozark Mountains in Branson, Missouri. And again, a lot of our viewers and listeners are from this area, a 4-hour drive from where we're from, but a great, great place to go and spend a weekend getaway. If you're maybe from the Pigeon Forge or Gatlinburg area, you've ever been there, very, very similar in a lot of different ways. We mentioned shows. You know, one of the staples and what kind of leads into our conversation today is we go straight to the source. A group that's been in Branson for 30 years and one of our all-time favorite shows is the Haygoods, and they are just consistently evolving and changing their act, and I can't think of a better way to get into Branson than to visiting with the Haygoods.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's hard to, I mean, you can't think about Branson and not think about the Haygoods, especially if you've been there before. They, you know, their marketing is fantastic because they're all over the town of Branson. So I hope if you haven't seen them, we highly recommend them. It's 6 siblings, 5 brothers, 1 sister, and it's high energy. They are my absolute favorite show in Branson.
They do perform at the Clay Cooper Theater in Branson. Get tickets early. They are often sold out. So if you're going to try to go and get a show the day of, that is not the show to do it.
No.
And again, not your grandfather's Branson show. High volume, high energy, just an absolutely fantastic show to go and see. And they are sewn into the fabric of Branson. And so a great way to kind of discuss Branson is to have a visit with the Haygoods. Joining us now on the Cruise in Review podcast, all the way from Branson, Missouri, is Timothy Haygood. Timothy, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Good afternoon, guys. Great to see you.
So I think this is curious. When we thought about doing a Branson episode, the thing that we thought the most about was trying to speak with someone that really understood the kind of the way Branson became Branson. And we talk about this a lot. It's not your kind of grandma and grandpa's Branson anymore. Y'all's show has evolved in that way, but you guys have also seen the city of Branson evolve over your 30 plus years in Branson.
Oh my gosh. I remember the very first time we came here and the first time that I ever drove down the Branson Strip 31 years ago. And it was cemented in my mind because, we had never been to this place with the big lights, and it was amazing to us. And I remember where everything was located and all the theaters and how small even Silver Dollar City was back then. And to drive the strip today, which I just did a few minutes ago, and to see the aquarium and Wonderworks and all of these attractions and museums, and to see the roller coasters at Silver Dollar City and the expansion of all the resorts and the building that's going on, it is absolutely incredible. I mean, I remember going to see shows back in the late 90s, and they had these buses lined up, and everybody was coming to Branson back then during the boom years. And I remember thinking to myself, there's no way that this can continue. This is incredible. This is amazing. But Branson has only grown and morphed and changed. And what you mentioned is very true. It used to be a destination where the idea and the perception that was out there was that this is where your grandmother's grandmother comes to vacation, and all the shows are targeted to this certain crowd. But all of that started changing 10 or 15 years ago, and the change has really accelerated the last 2 or 3 years. It's much more a every age group, family-friendly destination. I mean, we have shows that are rock and roll shows now. That was something that might seem, like that's not a big deal, but in Branson, that's a big deal. We have museums and entertainment, whatever you want to hear, whatever you want to see for every age group. You can come and check it out, to the point where if you want to go on a wine tasting tour or you want to go on a liquor tasting tour, we got that too.
Yes, absolutely. You guys have everything in Branson. And I feel like I've gotten a lot of flack over the years talking about how much I love Branson, because I'm 30 and that's not your typical age group. But I mean, you guys have been, I feel like y'all have performed everywhere. Y'all have performed at Silver Dollar City. Y'all have owned your own theater, although you're at the Clay Cooper Theater now. But
yep.
I mean, how do you feel like that going from Silver Dollar City? I mean, talk about that, going from where you guys were performing at Silver Dollar City now to performing every Saturday night in Branson on the main drag there. I mean, what's that been like?
It's been an incredible journey and an extremely unlikely journey.
Mm-hmm.
My father took an old VHS tape to Silver Dollar City back in 1993. And he said, I've got this family of fiddlers from the backwoods of Arkansas. And we would like to play a little fiddle show on your gazebo. And we were not that great, but we had a lot of energy. We had a lot of spunk. And there's a gentleman by the name of D.A. Calloway who took a chance on us. And he said, let's give him a week. Let's see what happens. So they hired us for a couple of shows during a week on the gazebo at Silver Dollar City. And we went out there and we just gave everything that we had. And because of our energy and how, our exuberance and how excited we were to be there, Silver Dollar City saw something in us, and they recognized that maybe we had the raw talent to become something. So they offered us a contract for the rest of the summer, which turned into a 9-year run out there. And during this 9 years, we were playing 5, 6, 30-minute shows per day, 5 or 6 days per week for 9 months out of the year whenever they were open. So we definitely worked, but they poured into us. They had producers and consultants and musicians that they really helped us to take the show to the next level. And we started on the gazebo. And by the time we were finished, we were selling out the Opera House, selling out Echo Hollow, and people were coming to Silver Dollar City just to see us. We had the opportunity to move the show to the Branson Strip back in 2002, and we immediately hit a brick wall and lost every single dime we had, because no one in the history of Branson had ever gone from Silver Dollar City to a show on the Strip, because you have a built-in audience in Silver Dollar City. We didn't realize it. So it was a rough road that first year, but we immediately became business people. We started talking, we started learning, we started taking that same energy that we put into the show to put into the business. And slowly the numbers started coming up. We started learning what we should do on a 2-hour show format versus a 30-minute show format. How things should be structured, how to build a business team. And over time, it just grew and grew and grew. And after 6, 7 years at Music City Center, we purchased the Americana Theater. We outgrew that within 2 years, sold that. and moved to RFD TV Theater, which had 2,200 seats. We had the option to purchase that theater, but we reached the point where we were playing 6 nights a week, and we were just so exhausted that we couldn't keep going. So we went to Clay Cooper and said, we want to try a brand new business model. We'd like to play 3 or 4 nights a week, and we'd like to rotate with you in this slot, and we want to see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And it ended up being just this perfect time. We have 1,200 seats in that theater, and I think there's only been 2 or 3 shows this year that haven't been completely sold out, where we turned away hundreds of people. And I mean, part of that is that because our name of our show is the Haygoods, we can be anything. We've never pigeonholed ourselves to any one type of music. Mm-hmm. So as you mentioned at the beginning of the conversation, we've been able to morph and change the show and grow it. We can add the latest hit songs. We can add the latest technology, which has become a really big part of the show. And we can always stay out front of the trends that are going on in entertainment. And that's been our secret to success, is never just settling down and expecting the tickets to come in, constantly changing, constantly working. This year in the show, we added a hologram segment, which is the first of its kind.
Yes.
On stage in the United States. We are also adding one of the first of its kind in the US in a theater, an indoor drone light show, which is just a really amazing thing to watch. And we've continued to change the music and to continue to morph and to grow, and the lighting, the production, the whole thing, so that as time goes on, we can continue to do that. And I think that's why it's been successful, because we do not rest on our laurels.
No, absolutely not.
Well, and I think you mentioned it, and when I try to describe your show to people, we keep going back to this theme: is this isn't what you think it is. You know, if you went to Branson 20, 25 years ago, it has changed. The shows have changed. But in particular, you mentioned the technology. You guys have more cues in your show than anybody doing it. And I think something that often gets overlooked if you're just watching the show from a base level, you guys are doing all of that. That is done by your family, by members of your family, and the team that you guys have surrounded yourself with. And that makes it all the more impressive when you think about the special effects you guys are using, that is done and produced by the Haygood family.
That is absolutely true. Our brother Michael is, of course, head of all of that, and he's developed into a much larger company, installing lighting and on the Branson Ferris wheel, and he has an outdoor drone show company now, and he's doing all kinds of things. But everything that we do is done in house, and yes, we of course we have people that work with us and consult and say we're up to last I checked 42 employees total. And I would say probably 12, 15 of them, somewhere in there, are concentrated just on the tech alone. And we have 2 people that all their job is to travel around the country, talking to different consultants. They travel overseas to China 2 or 3 times a year to demonstrate, to see the latest technology. But now it's to the point where factories in China are building stuff for us to our spec that we are patenting, that we're giving them the instructions on how to do it. And we've managed to take some of that technology, bring it to the USA, and add it into our show. But we actually approach everything in our show from the same perspective. What made us who we are is the fact that we grew up in the middle of nowhere. The Mark Twain National Forest was our backyard. We had literally, and I mean no money, I mean literally no money. We had duct tape on our shoes. That's not an exaggeration. The roof of our mobile home leaked. My daddy worked really hard, but he had 8 mouths to feed. That was a lot. As a carpenter who was just working jobs, he did the best that he could, but it was tough. So growing up with the woods as your backyard, and not watching a lot of TV because, we really didn't have one for a while. It gave you a perspective, and it made this unique love of the Ozark Mountains. And what we found is that every time we try and bring in outside consultants to help us produce the show, they want to get away from those elements which make it what it is. Mm-hmm. And as soon as you do that, you've lost the magic. It's true that you probably maybe wouldn't be able to take this show to Las Vegas or to Broadway because it wouldn't make sense. But when you're in the Ozark Mountains and we tell the stories about how we grew up, and you can see the transition from these kids that were in this single wide mobile home, just playing in the woods and had unlimited imagination because We didn't have a Nintendo. That's what made us who we are. So when we're developing the show from a special effects perspective, from a music perspective, from a storytelling perspective, for the people who have come to experience the legend of the Ozarks and the legend of Branson, Missouri, we never ever forget that. So circling back to your initial point, it is produced by us. Everything that you see in the show is done by us, and we purposely keep it that way. And we do not allow outside influences to tell us how to market the show, how to produce the show, what music to put in the show, what special effects to put in the show. Because as soon as you do that, you're going to be just like everybody else. And that's not why the public comes to see the show. They come because we're telling a story of all-American success that is incredibly unlikely because of our heritage and where we came from. And we try and circle that in a nice little bow in the 2 hours that people spend with us.
Yeah, and y'all show them. We've seen it for several years. We're huge fans of the Haygoods. But
Thank you.
You're absolutely, like, when we talk about Branson, you guys are the number one show that I recommend. I'm like, you got to go see them. They're a fantastic family. And then, you just talked about the 2 hours. You try to put a bow on it in 2 hours, and it's amazing how fast 2 hours can go by, because it's start to finish. It's high energy. You guys are always moving, like Blake said. And we haven't really talked about the instruments and how much we've talked about the pyrotechnics and the lights and all that, but the amount of instruments that you guys incorporate, and instruments that y'all you don't ever see hardly anymore, like the harp and the banjo and the fiddle. I mean, those are things that people that you go see big concerts, they're not playing. How many instruments? I've always wondered this. How many instruments get played in the 2 hours that you guys do a show?
I think it's a total of 28 instruments on the stage.
Insane. 28.
I just want to be really clear, because that point you made was very poignant. Everything has to be approached from a standpoint of the music first.
Mm-hmm.
You can have as much pyrotechnics or as much lights or as much stuff as you want.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, that isn't going to make any difference if the music doesn't hit people correctly. Mm-hmm. So we focus on the family harmony. We focus on the instruments, the harp guitar that 3 people can play, the banjo, the harp that Catherine plays. And we approach these instruments from a very unique perspective and try and find new ways to present them. But it always has to start with that music. And that music has to make sense with our story. It has to make sense with music that people are very familiar with. And also it has to be a piece that we can remake in our own way and present in an extraordinary manner. Mm-hmm. Everyone's heard the song Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen like 100 bazillion times.
Yeah.
We made a special a cappella arrangement of it. This a cappella arrangement changes keys 4 times. It features each one of the brothers singing, and it ends on this super high note, which is not what the song normally does, but it works really, really well for what we're doing. Mm-hmm. But yes, you are correct. It has to start with the music first. It has to start with the music integrity first. You have to be able to sit in the practice room, which is where I am now, and you have to be able to sing the song with one guitar, and it's got to hit you in your heart. Mm-hmm. And if that's not the case, then at the end of the day, it's not going to work. You can put all the flash and trash you want with it, and LEDs, it's not going to work. It won't work unless where it starts. That is the most important element. So I'm really glad you brought that up, because I want to make sure I clarified that.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things about y'all's show is seeing all the instruments. And I always joke with Blake, I'm like, every time that we leave the Haygood show, I always think, I wish I would have stuck to guitar lessons longer than 6 months, and I wish I would have stayed in the band in high school, because it's impressive every single time.
It is, and again, like you said, I'm glad you guys went down that rabbit hole, because the music. And the harmonies, it's very tight. It's it's like a cross between the Eagles, Metallica, George Jones, all rolled into one, and it really is such a fun show to go watch and see. And I think too, you guys do multiple different versions of your show a year. Branson kind of transforms in the wintertime into this winter wonderland, and the same goes for the shows in Branson.
That is correct, and it's really important for any new show that's considering coming to town to think about that. I was just speaking with a brand new magician that just had a demo show here in town, and telling him, look, like, your show is going to do very well in the summer. But you need to really think about this carefully, because the rest of the time, there is not a core audience that lives in Branson, Missouri. Taylor Swift or someone that has a mass appeal can go to any big city and play anytime, even on a school night, and it's going to be sold out. You can't do that in Branson, Missouri. Boomers, people that are retired, homeschool families are the ones that you're going to see in the spring. And then when summer comes, it's families from all over the place. The fall, it's generally a more mature audience, 60 plus. They come on buses, they come in their own cars, newly retired baby boomers, as I mentioned. And then, of course, we switch over to Christmas, which the last part of Christmas is kids and families. The first part of Christmas is generally bus tours and people that are 60 plus. So if you don't understand how this works, you're going to play a show for the wrong crowd. So when we open up, we're opening up in spring break, at the beginning of March. So we crank the volume, we make the lights more aggressive, we'll add some more rock and roll tunes to the show. And then that instantly stops once spring break is over. We transition to our 60 plus show. Now, that doesn't mean that it's boring. It maintains the core elements, the tap dancing and the fire and all the instruments. But we most certainly are cognizant of the crowd that's buying the tickets. We'll bring the volume back 2 or 3 decibels. We kind of slow down the pace a little bit. We swap out a couple of tunes, maybe the more aggressive ones. And then when summer hits, bam. And so we've just built it so that whatever crowd is here, that we can make sure we're playing to that crowd. Right now, we're in the middle of the summer. The sound is cranked up. You can feel it. It's exciting. And we're doing everything, the maximum that we can, and, that we can get away with, basically, musically. That's all going to change 2 weeks from now. And the show's instantly going to have a transition because the bus tours start coming. And, it's interesting to talk about the bus tours because, like back in the day, you would think about all these buses that were coming to Branson. You would think, oh, these are people that are 80, 90 years old. These days, they have luxury buses. There is literally Wi-Fi on board. They have full bars. They have food options. Some of them have come in with chefs that are cooking for these people on the way. Oh yeah, this is a completely different experience. You used to hear people say, "Oh, the bus industry in Branson, it's going to be gone."
Mm-hmm.
The bus industry is growing. It's growing because these new travel companies are offering a luxury experience, and it's a completely different thing. And it's pretty amazing to see that transition taking place. But the other thing that I hear when I talk to people, even in the fall, they say, we've been to Vegas, we've been to all these other places. And what we heard about Branson is that, maybe some of the entertainment is antiquated. And we went and saw some shows where that was the case. And some of them, we loved it because that's what we knew we were going to get. They say, but, we came in here and we were just not expecting this. Like all the TripAdvisor reviews always say that we were not expecting to see this. We thought it was going to be like everything else in the town. There are a few shows that have embraced the same kind of model that we have as far as changing and morphing. Reza is a good example of that. He does a magic show here in town. He changes it for the crowd. And because of that, he does well. He has a Christmas show. He has a fall show where he kind of tones it down a bit. And more shows are starting to go to that model and realizing that that's how you make it appeal to everybody. Because these young families coming in today where these kids have grown up with cell phones, and you already know this, but this is a different breed of people. Like their attention spans are very short.
Yeah. How long did TikTok? 15 seconds.
I mean, we keep our songs and our medleys generally under 2 minutes maximum for a full song.
Mm-hmm.
And for medley, we won't go more than 20 seconds before we switch the song. And there has to be some kind of attention grabbing thing going on or a story surrounding it. And so you're going multiple levels instead of just standing there presenting a song. There's only one band in Branson that can get away with standing there and playing because they're good enough to do that. And that'd be the Petersons. Michael's wife is Ellen Peterson. They're a bluegrass band, and that's what they're known for. That's their whole thing, is that they're the opposite of everything else. But pretty much everybody else is now following that same model. Change it for the season, play for the crowd that's there, and you'll always have success.
Mm-hmm. No, that's so interesting, especially as somebody that's come to y'all's show, year over year. And we've seen it at different times too. Like brought it, we went down at Valentine's Day one year when we realized that Branson completely shuts down except for Valentine's Day. And they open up just for that day. And then, of course, we've been at spring break and at Christmas. But I mean, as far as, when we're talking about how they do change, I mean, when do you guys ever really get a break? When do y'all start preparing for the show? When do you start preparing for Christmas? I mean, are y'all wearing Santa Claus hats right now, in your rehearsals?
So believe it or not, the last element to get into the show this year is the indoor drone light show that I've mentioned to you. Mm-hmm. We will spend months of pre-planning and then about 6 months getting everything into the show. We don't do it all at once because in order to tweak it and get things really tight, you've got to try them in front of multiple crowds. You have to admit when something isn't going quite right and how you're going to make it right. So we do one at a time, and that's why it takes months. So our rehearsals for that portion of the show and for the summer show and the fall show will end this weekend. Then we will immediately pivot and start working on Christmas. We will be singing Christmas songs in July. That will open up in November, but there's already been 4 or 5 months of pre-planning for the actual rehearsals. The music has to be ready by the time you rehearse. So we'll take a week or two off during the year, but January is really the time when the guys, not me, because I'm the marketing guy and I have to get everything ready for the next year. And January is the most critical time for that. Mm-hmm. The rest of the guys will just turn off their phones and get out of Dodge because, by the time you go 10 months of very hard work, you're ready to take 30 days and to rest. And so January, they'll go someplace warm and I don't even hear from them in January. And then you're going to be back in the office on February the 1st, and we're going to begin rehearsals. Here's your stack of music. Here's the plan. Let's go. Yeah. And that's kind of how it works. So it is very intense. And the most intense part of it and why you need to take a break that long is because you cannot ever have a show where you're not on it. Many people can only afford to come once or twice a year. Mm-hmm. And if you're not there, and I mean 100% every single time, the word's going to go out that's the experience that those people had. And with instant response days on TripAdvisor, Yelp, Google reviews, and everywhere else, Facebook message boards about Branson, you better be on it. You cannot have a down show. You can't have a show where you didn't give 130%. So there's the adrenaline rush. There's the energy level. There's, everything that goes in with that. And by the time you get to December the 31st and you do the New Year's show with Clay Cooper, you're ready to go.
The balloon drops like, hallelujah, we made it.
Yeah, that's a celebration for you guys. Less so about the new year and more of that you made it. You survived yet another year. Final thoughts, Tim, we appreciate your time, but final thoughts, if you're going to tell somebody, hey, come to Branson, enjoy it. What would you say to folks to get them out to come to Branson?
I mean, I know it sounds cliche, but there is truly something for everybody. I mean, let's go down the list. Johnny Morris is building bazillion-dollar golf courses that are literally in Golf Magazine, world-class, right here, 10 minutes outside of town. A lot of people don't even realize that. So you've got the whole Big Cedar Lodge, ultra high-class Ozarks experience, 10 minutes outside of town. You have every attraction on the Strip, everything from go-karts to theater shows to music shows of every type and kind that exists. I mean, we're talking 70 or 80 shows to choose from. If you're a family, we have something for you. If you just want to hear acoustic country music, we have that. If you want a hybrid, we've got that. If you want to go have a meal at Dixie Stampede while you're watching horses run around, we got that. If you want to go to Sight and Sound and see Esther, and you want your heart to be touched with the gospel, we've got that. If your family is not interested in that, and you want to go to the brand new aquarium, or you want to go to the museums we have here, no problem. If you just want to come and people watch, go to the Branson Landing. We have a shopping experience. The only ones in the world that's on a waterway. Taney Como has a full shopping experience. There's a free water. What I can't think of the word. I was going to say waterfall. But there's a free water show down there with fire and everything else. We have top of the line restaurants. We actually, if you are a foodie and you want to come and you want to have incredible experiences eating out, we actually have restaurants that are completely world-class in every single way. If that's not your thing, maybe you want to try sushi. No problem. We have 8 sushi restaurants in Branson as well. So it's not just that we have all these things here that you can do. It's the fact that it is surrounded by Ozark Mountain hospitality and the heritage of this area going all the way back to Marble Cave, Silver Dollar City, the Shepherd of the Hills that makes it what it is. You're not this town. You're going to feel the spirit and the heart of America in the Midwest right here in Branson, Missouri. And that is what makes it special.
31 years in Branson, 6 siblings, 5 brothers, 1 sister. You can go to the Haygoods.com if you want to see this show 3 to 4 nights a week at the Clay Cooper Theater. Folks, it is something you don't want to miss if you are in the Branson area. Timothy, thanks so much. We know you guys are so busy. It's right in the heart of your season. Thanks for joining us.
You bet. God bless you, and we'll see you at the show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tim. Some other great things to do also in Branson, and again, the Haygoods are a must. Go do that first.
Yes.
Okay. But if you're a person of faith, the Sight and Sound Theater, they do biblical stories told in like 8D. It's just an unbelievable experience. It's a very large theater. We have tried to do that every year and catch their newest, and they're always changing the shows. But it's biblical stories brought to life. When I say brought to life, you just got to go see it. So if you're a person of faith, go do that.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got live animals. It's fun for the whole family, in my opinion. And the set pieces are just immaculate, like Blake said. I mean, they really bring the Bible to life on stage. And
we mentioned shopping. Tim mentioned the Branson Landing. If you want to go, again, people watch or get a bite to eat, it's the most dynamic place, probably the best for families and people with kids. And he said that. You mentioned the fountain show, all kinds of great stuff to do at the Branson Landing, but some of the best shopping, and it is located right there, as he said, on Lake Taneycomo. Yeah, and if you need tips on shopping in Branson, please hit us up because I can answer every one of them. And Norse Frog's favorite store is on the Branson Landing. That is Build-A-Bear. You can find the Build-A-Bear on the Branson Landing. That's Norse Frog's favorite store, if you can imagine. One of our favorite restaurants there, Cantina Laredo. Yes, absolutely. And there's also lots of bars and arcades and tons of different things outside of shopping to do at the Branson Landing. So definitely make sure to check that out. And I do want to point out that I love the fact that Timothy brought up people watching because it's my favorite pastime. And there is lots of great people watching on the landing, for sure. There's a Tanger outlet there as well. So if you're kind of more of a mainstream, the Tanger outlet is there. Most of you have probably been to a Tanger outlet. Oh, yeah. Lululemon, Vera Bradley, Coach, you name all. I can name all the stores. He mentioned world-class golf. You really need to book those big courses in advance, like Paynes Valley, some of those. You need to book those in advance. We're talking 6 months in advance, but if you want just like a casual, more cheap round of golf, we played a couple of great courses our last time in Branson. Thousand Hills and Point Royale. 2 relatively shorter courses, but very well kept, very well manicured at a relatively affordable price right in the heart of Branson. Yeah, elevated tee boxes, beautiful greens to hit over, rivers that kind of flowed through the course. I mean, it was awesome. And Branson's a neat place because of the hills and the valleys anyways. So putting a golf course in the middle of that town, it's going to be gorgeous. So that was a lot of fun. Definitely highly recommend for, seasoned golfers, but then also newer golfers. It's a fun course to go play. So, and again, we've talked about this over and over and over again. If you want to stay in Branson, tons of options as well. It really is what you want to make it. Yes. But there are places to stay. You can stay on the lakes in maybe some condos. Point Royale, some of the golfing communities, Thousand Hills have condos you can stay in. You can Airbnb or VRBO, whatever you want to do, or Verbo, or however that is. Yeah. You can do that. We can help you book those through CruiseNReview. If you want to stay on the Strip, which is kind of where all the action happens, you can any kind of number of name brand hotels, household name brand hotels, if you would like to stay at those. But again, great weekend getaway, beautiful, lovely town with great wholesome values and great entertainment. Make a weekend out of it. Go play golf. Go see the Haygoods. Go to the Sight and Sound Theater. Grab you a great bite to eat. Get some shopping done. Yep. Ride a go-kart. Oh, go ride go-karts. go do putt-putt. Go be a kid again. Yes. In Branson. And you can go see the gigantic Ferris wheel. Tim mentioned that his brother Michael is a lighting artist and a real artist. He actually did the lighting on the Ferris wheel in Branson. Yeah, and they do a show every night. I can't remember the times exactly, but it's a big lighting spectacular show that they do on the Branson Ferris wheel every night.
there's music to it. It is the Haygoods music, and it's so neat. It's neat to do that Ferris wheel during the day or at night because you can see all the theaters lit up all the way down 76. So the Ferris wheel, check it out for sure.
So our next episode, we are still talking Branson, and as we talked about in our interview with Timothy, Branson changes. It's an ever-changing landscape, but one of the best seasons to go to Branson is Christmas.
Yes.
I know you think about it, it's cold, but man, it just sets the mood.
Yeah.
Everything's decorated. The shows transition over. The Haygoods Christmas show is fantastic, by the way. Plug, wink, wink.
Yeah.
It is fantastic. Their show, and again, completely different. They'll kind of do their best of show, where the first half is the best of the show they did all year, and then they switch over to this Christmas show, which has lights and
real Christmas trees and a fireplace.
Absolutely. It's just amazing what they do. Silver Dollar City has one of the largest, if not the largest, light display in the entire world that you can see from outer space. It is there at Silver Dollar City. They do train rides. They do hot chocolate. The whole place changes. It's a great place to do your Christmas shopping. So we were going to do Christmas in July, but then Adobe decided just to poop out like all together. And we couldn't even, it was horrible. So we had to. So we're doing Christmas in August. Yeah. It was supposed to be Christmas in July, but we're doing Christmas in August. So our next episode, we're gonna decorate it. North Frog's gonna have on his Christmas sweater, much to his chagrin.
He hates it.
And we're gonna have a Christmas in August episode talking about Christmas in Branson, and it is time to start planning those trips, start booking those. I think that Tim mentioned the Clay Goods New Year's Eve Spectacular. Great time to go do that, and you want to book that in advance because it does sell out. But anyway, just a great time to do that and start booking those things. But Christmas in Branson is what we're talking about on the next episode.
Yeah, and we can absolutely help you book it. Like Blake says, we can help you book from your hotel to your show tickets to, kind of help you plan your day on what stops to hit, restaurants to go. We'd love to help you plan. Whether it's in the summer or Christmas in Branson, if you'd like to take your family and do that. I love Christmas at Branson because to me it really gets you in the Christmas spirit. It kind of flips a switch. You're just all, I don't know, all happy and giddy like you're 5 years old again on the inside. I love it. So I can't wait to talk about it and talk about the highlights, talk about what to do, because I promise you will not regret missing Silver Dollar City at Christmas. Like it's the best.
Be sure to follow us on social, hit that subscribe button, listen to us on the go. If you want to listen to any of our other episodes out there, anywhere you get your podcast, go to CruiseNReview.com/podcast. Thanks so much to Timothy Haygood for joining us on the show. It's extremely busy time of year for them. So for him to stop what he was doing and join, it had to have been the fact he knew we had to build a bear.
Yes. And
executive
North Fork has been to his show.
North Fork has been to
his show. He has a little Haygood hug bear. He informed me that wearing my Haygoods t-shirt was way too much for today's interview. So I'm a huge fan of the Haygoods.
I know. So. We try to
but anyways.
Put on like a kind of a professional face.
Yes. So thank you again, Timothy, for doing the interview.
That was big time. It really was a big time and for us to do that. And
North Frog sends his thanks as well.
Because they truly are, the Haygood family truly is Branson.
Yeah.
And they are a true Branson story. So couldn't have thought of doing this episode any other way than without him. And for putting up with us and answered a few questions for us today. So this has been the Cruise Review Podcast. I'm Blake.
And I'm Audrey.
That's Norris Frog. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.